Come on in the room. Come on in the room. The Bucks are back in action. Preseason. Can you believe it's already here? Preseason starts Sunday, October the 6th. It's the Cream City crossover. The Guru, Trey Crosby III.
Chris King.
Back at it again. We're going to have coverage all the time for you with the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks are right now in California for training camp, and they also just completed their media day. So we want to get into that and talk about some of the things that are taking place going into the season, heading up to and leading into media day. And the biggest story, in my opinion, at least one of the big stories, there's a few stories we're going to go over here, but one of the big stories is the injury update reporting on Khris Middleton. He did have procedures done on both ankles. I thought it was going to be one. Both ankles in the offseason. He's coming into his 12th year in the NBA, 11th with the Milwaukee Bucks. And again, it looks like he is not being cleared yet. This came from Chris Haynes. He's not yet been cleared for 5-on-5 action with training camp starting today, actually. He's been progressing, but the team's going to take a cautious approach. He will take part in most of camp activities, but has not been cleared for 5-on-5 action. And they also, when they talked to him about on media day, it sounds like the plan is not yet in place as far as what it's going to look like for Khris Middleton throughout the season, or at least to start the season, related to his ramp up, related to his activities on the court, related to, again, just what does it look like from a minutes restriction standpoint, all of that. Very interested to see. Again, Khris Middleton was healthy at the end of the season, unlike his counterparts, Giannis and Dame. So that was a positive. But again, he was on minutes restriction for a majority of the season. Chris, does this bother you? What do you think the plan is for Khris Middleton? And what does it look like? What does it feel like when you hear 2 offseason ankle surgeries or procedures done in the offseason heading into camp, and he's not ready to compete 5-on-5?
Well, this is concerning for me, Trey, and I think it's concerning because of the past. This has happened for I don't know how many years in a row now, that it also puts pressure on Giannis to stay healthy. And I don't like that. I think it's a direct cause of why Giannis goes through that regular season and has to play so hard just to keep us afloat, and ultimately comes down to the end of the year, and now we're missing Giannis for a couple games in the first series, or not having him at all in the first series of the playoffs, and that hence the 2 first-round exits in a row. Yeah, I don't like it at all. I think the front office and coaching staff gets a little untransparent when it comes to the health of Khris Middleton as well. Like, this could be a situation where he's not even ready at all, but they're just trying to maybe beat around the bush a little bit. So that's my biggest concern, and especially with him aging, right? We talked about trying to get this team younger and trying to get guys that could be athletic, that could stay healthy, because health is wealth, and that's what keeps you in games, keeps you in seasons. And for him to be a year older and also have more surgeries done. What was it, last year, his wrist or something? And now it's the lower part of the body. Just so much damage that's built up from Khris Middleton. It is concerning for sure, Trey. And I hope that by game 1 or by, at least a couple games in, he's able to get out there and be playing like Khris Middleton from last playoffs, because he was great. He was phenomenal. But then now you add in the surgeries, and it could get bad. So those are my biggest concerns. Also, putting pressure on Dame as well to be great right away. So
I'm with you. I agree wholeheartedly, 100% that this is concerning, and I know there are some Bucks fans out there who want to pretend like it's not concerning, but it is. I don't know how you. To me, you can't you cannot spin cycle away 2 off-season ankle procedures on each ankle as, oh, this is a positive. It's not. Like, let's not kid ourselves. That's not a positive thing from a guy who is in his 30s, 12th year in the league, and has been riddled with lower body injuries, especially for the last few seasons. He can't complete a full season worth of play. So it's not a good thing. Again, is the biggest thing at the end of the day. No, as long as he's healthy in the playoffs and he's playing well. We know he doesn't move laterally as good as he used to defensively, especially. But can he be a guy that can still give you, for a number 3 option, can he give you 20 a night with solid defense, being a defender that can at least move his feet and hang with some of the bigger wings in the NBA? Yeah, and that's a positive thing. And we expect Khris Middleton to continue to be able to do that. But again, that's the question. Like you said, health as well. We'll see. All I'm saying is it's not a positive when a guy who has lower body injuries then has to follow up into an offseason with 2 ankle procedures. It's not a good thing. So, and again, like you said, does it contribute? I don't know if it's a coincidence, because that was the common retort that I heard was, oh well, Khris Middleton was there, at the end of the season when it mattered, and Giannis and Dame weren't. And again, I'm no doctor, I'm not a medical expert, but is it a coincidence that both Giannis and Dame went down with, I think they were basically non-contact injuries at the end of the year when they had to carry the weight when Khris Middleton was ramping up for 50, 60 games throughout the regular season. I don't know. It could totally be a coincidence, but it could be something deeper to it. Again, you have Giannis, you have Dame, you have Khris. Can you all stay healthy? That's the question. If you can, the Bucks are definitely going to be formidable throughout the Eastern Conference. Moving forward, moving along, to hear the news about Giannis and Damian Lillard. Giannis, of course, had an eventful summer. He was in the Olympics, tied the knot with his with his wife, longtime girlfriend, Mariah Riddlespringer. But nevertheless, in last season, Dame and Giannis had some troubles together, and just gelling and meshing, and two guys, and or at least Dame in a different situation, wanting to get out, and it didn't seem like it was the best of fits, even though everybody thought it would be coming into the season. And they talked about wanting to develop a closer bond with each other, but they did not team up in the offseason. Giannis let everybody know that during media day, that neither one of those guys, they just weren't able to link up schedules. They didn't get together. Giannis, of course, like I said, doing Olympics, he was getting married. Damian Lillard was training on his own. Do you have any issue at all? Two guys who did not seem to gel, who you need to gel. You're two alpha dog leaders on the team. Do you have an issue with those two not getting together in the offseason and getting some work in?
Well, first of all, this is a packed summer for Giannis. I mean, getting married and doing the whole Olympics thing was the flag bearer for Greece. I mean, big ups to him. I don't know if we even really notched on that at all. So, I mean, a busy summer for Giannis, and I also think this was an opportunity for Dame to just work on himself. In the media day, he talked about how they're going to get the best version of me this year. Well, we would have liked to have that last year, but sure. I digress. I think that this is a good thing for Dame to just be able to work on himself, be happy with being in Milwaukee, be happy with the team that they're building around him now at this point. Grabbing Gary Trent Jr. with some familiarity there, being able to play with a former teammate, and to get back in shape. Like, I think that it only does so much for you to run pick and rolls in the offseason and play so much open gym with Giannis to gel. I think Dame has to be at his best by himself for that chemistry to even be able to work at its best. So, I don't think that this is a huge issue, but I also think that there's some positives still with Dame just being able to figure himself out.
Would I have liked both of those guys to get together and build some camaraderie, between, like you said, a pick and roll, and just getting to know each other a little bit better throughout the offseason? Absolutely. You would have loved to hear that your two stars spent a week together, or that Dame went out to Greece and and did whatever during that time period. But it didn't happen. I think it's a little bit overblown. I'm not too worried about it, too concerned about it. Those guys are in California right now, and they need to get it together. They have a month. Basically before the season starts, they're gonna have to figure this thing out, or else there's gonna be a lot of questions and a lot of issues that come, for both of them. And I think you're right, Chris. Looking at Damian Lillard, the issue for him, a lot of it was himself, and for a guy who clearly admits he was not, like you said, he needs to be the best version of himself. He was not in the best of shape. Look at Damian Lillard when he started off last year with the Bucks, and look at him now coming into training camp. He looks like he's in better shape. Hopefully he's in a better headspace with what's been going on in his life and his marriage and all those different things. He got a divorce, moved across the country, without some of his family. We talked about some of those issues. And to me, again, I don't like to toot my own horn and, validate myself, but it was validating to look at and see. I know we had our spat with the Dame Bros before the playoffs, but it was validating and rewarding to see, I wasn't some big Damian Lillard hater. Like, again, when Damian Lillard got here to the Milwaukee Bucks, everybody was excited. Like, everybody thought this was a championship year, especially in and around Milwaukee. That's what the thought process was, and it didn't turn out that way. And again, Damian Lillard was out of shape. He wasn't playing his best basketball. He wasn't in the right headspace. All the things we talked about throughout the entire year on the Cream City crossover, That's what was taking place. And you had people trying to discredit us and say we all. No, like I'm just watching ball, and like you can see what was happening. So again, it's good to see that, and I'm glad. And the other thing I'm glad at is that Dame didn't run away from it. He acknowledged it. Yeah, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. Acknowledge it, and that's the only way you can move forward. So again, I'm happy to see that. And again, if he's worked on himself, he's the best version of himself. Giannis and Dame should be an unstoppable combination.
Yeah, they should be great together, especially if Damian Lillard is in game shape right away. He's not, trying to foul bait like we had a ton of issues with last year. And he's really solidifying himself as the Damian Lillard that we all know and we all admired in Portland from afar, and then even in moments last year, we admired him as a Buck. So if he's able to kind of get back to those high moments, those key moments that we know Damian Lillard for, then I think the rest follows. Look, Giannis is always going to give you what he's got. And if you can get the best out of Dame, the consistency out of Dame, you'll be all right.
Let's talk about some of the rest of the roster for the Milwaukee Bucks. Some of the new additions, some of the young guys as well. DeLon Wright talking about coming in on media day saying that, he can defend some of the guys from the Boston Celtics. You look at the Taurean Prince, who has joined the Milwaukee Bucks, and in the Gary Trent Jr., who, has joined the Bucks as well through offseason, and John Horst and Damian Lillard did a great job making sure that he would matriculate into this organization. And you want to see all that. Those guys should play well. But I'm looking as well. I'm looking at the young guys, and what does a year look like? We are a month out from MarJon Beauchamp, and wondering, are the Bucks going to pick up his fourth-year option? We don't know that right now. MarJon, you look at a guy like AJ Green, Derrick Bird, who looks like he's ascended from out of the fray from some of the young players, that he's going to have a role. What roles Andre Jackson Jr. have? What role does a rookie like AJ Johnson have, who everybody kind of trashed as soon as he was drafted, and then you saw him in the summer league? You said, okay, maybe he's going to do some. Chris Livingston, can he do some things for you? Bobby Portis, who a lot of Bucks fans were down on throughout the year, what does his role look like? Pat Connaughton, who's still in Milwaukee, who, again, myself included, I can't believe Pat Connaughton is still in Milwaukee. Like, there's a lot of, again, the Bucks roster has improved. Again, the three additions are much better than, again, it was Pat Beverly, Malik Beasley, and it's escaped me the third guy, who was the replacement for those three that we named: Taurean Prince, Gary Trent Jr., and DeLon Wright. But when I see this new wave of talent, and between the young players and between the vets that the Bucks are bringing in, Doc Rivers is going to have an interesting job. Darvin Ham is back as well. Doc Rivers, Darvin Ham, coach, is going to have an interesting job trying to figure out where this team goes and what the minutes look like. Chris, what are you seeing? Who do you think makes the biggest impact? What do you think this team looks like from a minute standpoint, from a production standpoint, between the young guys and some of the vets that have been brought in?
Well, I think the third guy you were looking for is Danilo Gallinari. That whole experience.
Jesus.
Maybe not. I don't know. But
yeah.
This is a fun time to be a Bucks fan, I think, because now you're bringing in guys who have a different mindset than I would say Pat Bev and Gallinari and Malik Beasley have. I think DeLon Wright and Taurean Prince provide great options on the defensive side of the floor, maybe more than Malik Beasley does. So now you've got guys being able to battle, being able to fight for those minutes. Who can play the best defense for me?
Third guy I was looking for is Jay Crowder.
Oh, Jay Crowder, yeah.
Yeah.
See ya. Where
Sorry,
go ahead.
I'll tell you in a second.
Okay. No, yeah. So, like, being able to have these defensive options just in your back pocket is something I felt we were missing last year, because we had so many defensive lapses, guys missing out on rotations, just giving up open shots, open threes. And I think this gives you guys who are 82-game players, right? Like, we talked about this whole 82-game players. They might not be 16-game players. We have yet to see that from Taurean Prince and DeLon Wright. But they're going to be guys who can win you regular season games, making sure on a Tuesday night the Pistons don't get you. So that's what I'm excited for. I think we're going to be a lot more sharp on the defensive side of the ball with these additions. As far as the young guys go, man, you and I just talked about this off air, and we feel like AJ Green has graduated from the rest of the young guys. I think there was moments last year where he was able to light it up, hit some big shots, and also defend. I think that's what a lot of people don't give him credit for, is his defensive ability is there. And so I think you're going to see an increased role from him. I think he'll be able to get minutes, and for him to be such a consistent shooter, I think that's what we need. And obviously the looks will be there, so that'll be great. And then Gary Trent Jr., offensive weapon, that's going to be electric, because now you've got really 4 guys who can just score at will with the ball in their hands in the starting lineup. So you have a ton of options. This is going to be on Doc Rivers. This is going to be on Coach Doc Rivers to figure out what lineups are working, who to play against who, and what matchups work for you. So they're going to have some options here. It does give me a little bit of concern for the young guys. Are they going to be, because we saw what Doc Rivers did last year, wasn't very willing to give young guys chances, which I think, good, bad, and different, I don't know. But I think that this year it could present the same opportunity. Is A.J. Johnson ready? Is Tyler Smith ready to hop in the lineup for a couple games if guys are hurt or taking a rest day or whatever it may be? Like, are we going to be able to develop the young guys? Because we're talking about Brook Lopez. We're talking about Khris Middleton. We're talking about Pat Connaughton getting up there in age. Guys that maybe at some point in the season, a couple of those guys we didn't even think would be on the team right now, especially with the way the season ended too. So the biggest concern for me with the young guys is just how will Doc try to develop these guys? Will they be able to get real game minutes, or will they be sent to Oshkosh? Is that the way that they're going to try to develop these cats? And I think for the young guys to really get an opportunity, I'm looking at a couple of people. I guess Andre Jackson Jr., just because the effort, we needed that at times last year. We needed his defensive ability. We needed him diving on the floors to get 50-50 balls. And so I think he'll be able to crack the lineup here and there. Chris Livingston shot the ball well, at least in Summer League. And I don't know what he's going to be at the NBA level, because we know Summer League is so drastic. And then the other thing is Marjon, man, a terrible performance in Summer League. It leaves you with a big question mark about him as well. So the young guys, man, I want to see some development, and I want to see some guys be able to make improvements on last year.
That's a good point you bring up, and the way I look at this roster, especially from the young guys and some of the guys you mentioned, is this is a roster that is searching for answers at the wing. Because again, this can you defend the wing is paramount, especially when you look at a team like the Boston Celtics. Can you defend those big wing players, the Jason Tatums, the Jaylen Browns, those types that are going to be all over the floor, and that you have to be able to play against to win a championship. And you have what the Milwaukee Bucks have with this roster is you got a bunch of guys that you can throw out there and see who can. Again, that's a question. Who can Andre Jackson Jr. do it without fouling? I don't know right now. Can Chris Livingston, who is a young, raw type of talent prospect, can he go out and play with the big dogs and actually play at a high level, and not just show some of the pure talent that he has, but can you tap into some of that potential and really make an impact? Those are going to be the questions. And then I look at, honestly, my probably biggest question for this roster, because like I said, I think you have what you're looking for. At least from a guard perspective, you have some of that. My biggest question on this roster, now look at the bigs. You saw Brook Lopez, and he seems to be slowing down a bit. You have Giannis, who has injury issues, and you don't want to overextend him or kind of wear him out. And then you look at a Bobby Portis, who as a big, defensively has issues. Those are your 3 main, legit bigs, right? Like that's what you're looking at when you talk about the power forward center position, and coming in and spelling a Brook Lopez. What's my man? Tyler Smith? Is that the other rookie? I mean, again, what is he going to look like? That's my real question is, what does the front court of this basketball team, what does that look like? Because I think from a backcourt, from a wing perspective, I think they have enough bodies that you're going to find. Like you said, it's going to be a Doc Rivers kind of question and answer. I think Doc's going to find the combination that works and makes the most sense, that plays with the stars. And again, maybe Khris Middleton being out some is going to in a weird way kind of help with that, because you're going to have to play some of those young guys, some of those guards and wings. They're going to get that experience to roll with Giannis and Damian Lillard, to kind of get those reps throughout the year. But that's my question: is when you look at the bigs, how do what does that look like in high level competition? You see, especially when you see a New York Knicks make the addition of Karl Anthony Thomas, Karl Anthony Towns, excuse me, going into New York from Minnesota, and how you're gonna have to defend him playing, with the Knicks. You look at obviously Kristaps Porzingis in Boston, and Al Horford, and how those guys played, and when Kristaps was healthy. So those are the type of players that you're looking at and you want to see and you want to figure out. Hey, even a Miles Turner in Indiana, like, you've got to be able to defend those guys at a high level. And the Bucks had some issues with it, because primarily the guy who was coming in was Bobby Portis, and defensively, he just wasn't up to par. Are you going to be able to find something like that? And again, maybe it's going to be a guy who might be a little smaller, like a Taurean Prince, somebody like that. Can you make it at the 4 with a 6'7" guy? And again, those are things you have to find out. But again, I agree with you. That's a great assessment. I think Doc Rivers, Darvin Ham and company, those guys have got to figure that out. Chris, give me last words on, I guess, kind of upcoming into the season. What are what are your thoughts? What are you looking at when you see this Milwaukee Bucks team? And it's funny because they asked Giannis, about, they asked him something on media day about, getting to a championship and winning the Eastern Conference, and his reply was, championship, Eastern Conference, we got to get out of the first round. And it's a sad state of affairs. The Bucks won a championship in 2021, and they have not. Well, they got out of the first round next year to get to Boston, but they haven't been to an Eastern Conference Finals since. And this is a team that, when you look at it, even when it was Drew Holiday, Khris, and Giannis, now especially Dame, Khris, and Giannis, that's a team that should be competing every year. That's a team that should not be losing to the Miami Heat in the first round, should not be losing to the Indiana Pacers in the first round. I get it, injuries are one thing, but at some point, injuries are not going to be an excuse. You got to figure out a way to win.
Yeah, you got to figure out a way to just make sure you're all there at the end of the season as well. I would say, last couple thoughts to your big man point. Like, the Bucks made a decision to not move off of some guys this offseason. It's clear. And they also made the decision to not try to draft a big man, to get a young athletic center that we'd been kind of talking about maybe targeting in the draft. So with that poses, maybe Giannis is running more of the 5 this year. Maybe he'll be out there and they'll figure out how to, maybe run some small ball with the wings, and obviously having Dame and Gary Trent out there. So there, like we said, there's a plethora of options for Doc Rivers, and I want them to figure that out. And hopefully we don't get to that point where during midseason, during the trade deadline, we're like, all right, we need to get a center, and like we need to ship off Connaughton. We need to do that. We need to do all these moves just to get the center that we had a whole offseason to address. So yeah, I would say that's my thing for the backcourt. Maybe you're seeing more Giannis at the 5 spot, and we know he can defend at that level. So maybe running a little bit smaller and just trying to have those ball handlers out there that can score the basketball. So. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the season. I'm super excited to see what kind of different looks. I'm super excited to see the new additions be in Bucks jerseys, because I feel like they did a good job for what they could in the offseason, and really exceeded expectations. Being able to get Gary Trent Jr. on a 1-year rental is awesome. So yeah, I would say looking forward to the season, and just very interested, very intrigued to see how this thing goes. Hopefully it's not even close to what we had to endure last year with the first round exit.
Yeah, it's a lot. Last year was an interesting year. Of course, you bring in Damian Lillard, you bring in the doctor, the real doctor, Adrian Griffin, and he's fired, for 53 games in. There's just a lot to win. When you think about last season, it was a tumultuous season, a lot that went on. You're still losing the first round. Both your star players are hurt heading into the playoffs, and at least Giannis started heading into the playoffs. Dame gets hurt after, in game 3, I think in overtime, whatever it was, and you lose to the Indiana Pacers, who you were rivals with, throughout the season because they stole a basketball from Giannis. It was a wild season last year, and it did not end the way the Bucks wanted it to. Didn't win the way you guys wanted to. Didn't end the way we wanted it to end. So we're gonna try to bring some more good fortune. It was fun last year doing the Cream City crossover virtually every night, and guess what? We're gonna be back doing it again. We're gonna run that thing back with the Cream City crossover. So keep it locked all the time right here at the Cream City crossover for all the latest Bucks news. Happy to be back. Happy to start this thing back up from the Guru Trick Crosby III.
Chris King.
They don't take no wooden nickels. Courage.